Hi friends, it's Miss Kristin from the Grafton Public Library. Thanks for joining us for STEM for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. Today we're going to find out if you can really make your own plastic toys from milk. This sounds crazy, right? You can actually make plastic toys from milk? Well, we are going to try it out. So the process that we're going to use today is a process to make something called casein plastic. And this process has been used for over 100 years and is actually how they used to make plastics before 1945. In 1945, they introduced synthetic plastics, which is what we use today. Before that, even royalty wore jewelry made from milk plastic, and that's pretty cool. So let's see if we can make our own. For this experiment today, you're going to need a cup of milk. You're going to need some distilled white vinegar, a teaspoon, some paper towels, a bowl, a strainer, and you're also going to need some sort of mold to put your milk into. I have this Lego mold, so we're going to make some little Lego people. We used it for making crayons before, so you can kind of see the little bits of crayon. So whatever you have, something, just put your milk in, and that's the mold that we're going to use. The first step is to take your cup of milk and put it either in the microwave to heat it up until it's steaming, or ask a grown-up for help and use the stove. You can heat it up in a pot, and again, you want it to just start steaming before you remove it from the heat. All right, I have my steaming milk. I'm going to pour it into a bowl, and then we're going to add 4 teaspoons of vinegar. And you'll notice after adding the vinegar that your milk is immediately starting to curdle. You're gonna see bits of whey, and then the milk's gonna get kind of chunky, and you're gonna wanna stir it gently for about a minute. Okay, you don't wanna over stir, you just wanna be gentle and continue to stir for about 1 minute. All right, once you're done stirring for 1 minute, you're gonna see all those curds and the whey in there. And what we're gonna do is we're going to take our strainer, and I'm gonna use another bowl, and you're going to pour your milk into the strainer, and you're gonna see all the curds are gonna stay on the top. I'm gonna get all that out of there. And you're gonna wanna let it sit for a couple minutes to make sure it's really strained very well. You can actually gently smush the curds if you need to help get the excess liquid out. And just let it sit for a minute or 2 until all the liquid is out of those curds. All right, once your curds have all been strained, to make sure that they're cool, you're going to actually put them onto a paper towel. You can use your hand to scoop them out. Again, make sure that they're cooled down enough. And you can see you can actually kind of move it around in your hand. It's kind of like cottage cheese or really thick like Greek yogurt. And what you're going to want to do is you're just going to want to pat it dry. And keep doing this. You want to get it as dry as possible. So you might have to do this a few times to get all the liquid out of your curds. All right, so once your curds have been dried by the paper towel, you'll notice they're kind of crumbly, but you can still hold them in your hand and kind of form it around like Play-Doh. So you have a choice here. You can either stick this right into a mold now of your choice, or if you want it to become a little bit smoother and actually a little bit more white, you can put it into a jar that has vinegar in it and let it soak for an hour. So I'm gonna put mine in a glass jar full of vinegar, and I'm just gonna let it sit and soak for an hour. And then when that hour is done, we're gonna repeat the process of drying it again. All right, so I have my jar of vinegar with the curds in it that I let sit for another hour. Again, that was an optional step. You don't have to do that. But since I did that, we need to strain them again. So I'm gonna get them all out of the jar. And we're just gonna let them sit again for a minute and make sure that all the vinegar has drained out. All right, so I have my curds, and again, I'm gonna put them on the paper towels just like we did before. so we can make sure that we get all the liquid out as much as we can. Make it pretty dry. So I'm just gonna squeeze it here between the paper towels. And open it up. Just try to keep squeezing it. And once you feel like you've gotten all the vinegar out, again, you should be able to mold it and hold it in your hand. And it's a little bit like a Play-Doh consistency. And now you can take it and you can put it into your mold. So you just gently push it in. And if you wanted to make beads, you could roll these into balls and stick a skewer or a straw through to make a hole in the middle. So you could make your own jewelry. So there's lots of different things that you can do if you don't have a mold at home. So you're just gonna squish them in. And once you squish them into the mold, or you form them into balls to make beads or whatever it is that you decide you want to do with it, you're going to actually need to let it sit for about 2 days for your plastic to form and for it to dry out, depending on how humid or warm it is. So after 1 day, about 24 hours, you should be able to pop your pieces out of the mold. And you can let it dry that way, probably dry a little bit faster. But again, you definitely want to wait and let it sit for about 24 hours before you pop them out of the molds. And then once they are completely dry, you may have to smooth out some of the rough edges. You could use sandpaper or something else you have at home to kind of smooth out the rough edges, like a nail file. And then you can actually paint your plastic that you made from milk. It's crazy. So I just wanted to explain to you about how we can turn milk into something that is plastic. So it's all about working with polymers. Polymers are molecules that have formed a regular chain structure. Milk contains molecules of a protein called casein. And during the reaction between the warm milk and the acid vinegar, the casein molecules unfold and form long chains called a polymer. The polymer can be molded and shaped, which makes it a plastic, like we did here with these molds. In this case, it's called casein plastic or milk plastic because of the type of molecules that created the plastic. So that's just a little bit about the science behind how we can take our milk and turn it actually into plastic. Hi friends, so it's been 48 hours and I'm really excited that our experiment worked and the milk has turned hard and into plastic. So if you listen, you can hear how hard it is, and this is what the plastic looked like when it came out of the mold. So you can see I talked about before that you might have to use sandpaper or a file because there's some rough edges on here. But it definitely is hard, and this is the color that it was. And then I took my Lego guy and I painted this one, and I just added his little mouth features with a permanent marker. You can do whatever you want, get creative. And I will say make sure that you let your mold sit. I did have a third Lego man, but I think I took him out of the mold a little bit too early because his head disconnected from his body. So just make sure that you really let them sit in the mold for a good 24 hours at least before popping them out to finish drying completely. I would love to see what you create. Again, this is experimenting and try different things, see what you come up with. And if it doesn't work, please don't get discouraged. You can always try again. Feel free to reach out. We can try to figure out a solution together. And I'm really excited to see what you make. Thanks so much for joining us.